Okay, good evening, everybody, and you are welcome to today's class. So, before we continue, is there anybody that has a question or you have a challenge? Please drop a question in the question and answer topic so that we can attend to it before we start. If you have a question, you have a recommendation, or maybe you want to share what your experience has been like, please drop a comment or maybe in the question and answer topic so we get to it. Any question, any challenge or experience? For the new students, we're looking at having a makeup class tomorrow. So I am proposing to start by 5 p.m. or start by 7 p.m. So for the new student, go to the new student topic and drop the time you would like to start tomorrow. If it's 5 p.m., you drop 5 p.m. If it's 7 p.m. you want, you drop 7 p.m. so that we can have a makeup class. And also, the old students are free to join the class, especially for those who are not following JavaScript yet. So for the new student, if you want the class to be by 7 p.m., you drop 7 p.m. If you want 5 p.m., you drop 5 p.m. So any question before we continue today's class? Any question in the question and answer topic? Drop your question. No question. Nobody has anything to say. Okay. That's fine. Now the series of questions I'm seeing, I'm not impressed. Now, but I want to take it that those questions are coming from the new students, and that's why they have those line of questions. I understand from new students, but not for the old students. Now, as a backend developer, a lot depends on you. When I say a lot depends on you, I don't mean there is a place where you are going to see the code you write, or a place where you copy the project you want to build. No. Now, a client will wake up and say, I want to build a project. Like there's a project we are trying to negotiate. I want to build a project where people can monitor their houses from their app, wherever they are. Maybe they will be in their office, they'll monitor what's going on in their house in the app. Maybe the driver is trying to drop the kids off in school. They want to be able to monitor what's going on inside the car from their office. Now, that project may have been done, or maybe it has not been built before. But as a backend developer, it is your job to figure it out. So it means that nobody will tell you how to do it. It is your job to figure it out. They will pay you. It depends on how much they pay you, but they will pay you. The payment is for you to figure it out. Now, you may do something. I say, for example, I'm just thinking of project that could come your way, and maybe you want to build something like PiggyVest, and they say we want to be able to pin interest on use for users. So if you save your money for a certain period of time, we'll give you interest. If you don't, if you try to remove it early, we collect this amount from you. Now that kind of project has been built. So as a backend developer, if they pay you to build that kind of project and you've built it, but the client comes up tomorrow with something that has never been done and say, add it to the project. Now, you say, sir, this cannot be done. You don't tell him this cannot be done. It is your job to figure it out. Now, if you can't figure out how to install NodeJs, you can't figure out how to run NPM in it. You can't figure out how to set up your server when I've actually showed you the documentation. You have a website for NodeJs. You have a website for NPM, and whatever you want to set up the server is already there. These things are already there. And like I said, even if you don't want to use the npm documentation, there are so many other documentations out there. Just do a Google search and you will find everything you're looking for, and you follow it and be done. So these ones are already there. That shouldn't be a challenge to you. And the challenge is, you want to build a project. I might sit down here and give you your first project, and even me, I may not know how to do it. But as a backend developer, it's your job to figure it out. The front-end developer will just be building design with HTML, CSS, and just put everything to look beautiful and be waiting for you to figure out the functionalities. Now, it depends on what you tell the front-end. That is what they will do. If you are working on a team, you might have project managers, you will have CTOs, and all of them will be waiting for you to figure it out, because they will just tell you, this is what we want. It is your job to figure out how can this be done. So what I'm teaching you, of course, I'm showing you the basics, how to start. But majority of what you will build depend on you. So going forward, start thinking about everything I need to figure it out. Now, anything can be done. Anything can be done. It doesn't matter whether it has been done before or not. It can be done. So, but your job as a backend developer full time is to figure things out. Things that have not been done. Things that has been done, but they will not show you. It's your job to figure it out. And when you figure it out, when you are figuring something out, know that if you are 3 backend developers, the way the first backend person will figure it out may not be the way the second person will figure it out. And may also not be the same way the third person will figure it out. So that's exactly what happens in bank app. Now, they might look the same, but on the back end, they are not the same. The softwares might look the same, but if you enter the backend, they are not the same, because it is not the same backend developer that is writing it. So what you are doing will definitely be different for what some other person is doing. Backends will always be different, but there might be some similarities. So what the point I'm driving at is, position your mind that from the back end, it is your job to figure it out. So when you have a challenge, that is your job. Now, as a developers, we do well with when you have errors, when you have challenge. So you pay attention to the error you are getting. That is part of your job. You pay attention to the error you are getting. If you write a project and you don't encounter any error, then you're not learning anything. You're not. The only time you learn something and it's sticky is when you encounter errors and you solve that error. That is when that thing you've learned will stick in your head. And anytime you are called to defend it, you can defend it very well because you encounter the error and you are able to fix it. And also, that's what you will tell when you go for project interviews or for jobs. They will ask you, tell us what challenge you've had. How did you fix it? What have you encountered? How did you fix it? It is always, that's like one major question they will ask you. They will ask you, tell us one time you felt very good about yourself being a developer, a backend developer. Tell us a project that gave you tough time. How did you solve it? So these are part of the process. So don't see these challenges as something that will make you drop out. No, it's part of the process. It's part of what you need to become a backend developer. So change your question. Yes, we have the course rep. She's there to assist you. We have other persons like Francis. We have Manuel, Aliu, Swan. We have so many persons there that can assist you with your questions. But the main thing is, it is your job to figure it out. There are so many documentation to look at and you figure it out. So nobody helps a backend developer, but everybody will help a front-end developer, because of course, if you are painting a house, somebody will come and tell you, oh, this color is not fine. Can you change it to this color? Oh, this other one is not fine. Can you change it to that other color? But if you are an electrician and you are wiring the house, nobody even want to come near there, let alone know what you are doing. Just do it, and then when you are done, tell me you are done. That's the life of a backend developer. So The question I'm seeing, by now I'm not expecting you to be having issues installing Node.js, but no problem. I understand that it's from the newbies. So what I will do is, what we did yesterday, I will go all over again from npm init till our first API. And the reason why I'm doing this is I may not do it again next week, because if I keep doing npm init and then set up the server and then build the first API, we may not even cover the backend project. Now, setting up the server is done only once. Then building your API is where the main job is. You start building API. So if you are trying to run npm init and you don't know how to run it, just type it on Google. Google will show you. If you are trying to set up your server and you don't know how to do it, type it on Google. Google will show you. Now, if you don't want to use Google, we have the npm documentation, npmjs.org. It will show you how to use Express or any other dependencies we will use. So that part is like the basics of the basics, and it's something you can follow up even without coding. While you're not even coding, you will follow it up. So since we don't have any questions now for the recordings, there is a challenge with that recordings. What I will do is I will place this information to the to those who are actually the team, and let me see if it's possible to send you the video immediately I'm done, because currently I can't send you the video immediately I'm done. I have to compress it and then maybe edit one or two, add logos, and then send it to them, and then before they send it back to you, and see that it's okay before they send it back. So all those processes can actually make it you don't get the video the same day, but I will place in the request to see if it's possible to send you the video immediately after the class. And another reason is these videos sometimes could be 500 megabytes, 600 megabytes, and I don't know if it's okay to send you 500 megabytes and 600 megabytes, which is why compressing it is very, very important. But I will, like I said, I will place in the notice to the team and see if it's possible to cross that. So if there is no other question on Tuesday or Wednesday, now the video, the makeup class has nothing to do with this backend we started yesterday and today. The makeup class is basically for JavaScript. I showed you a few topics: creating variables, arrays, object, arrow functions, higher array methods, async requests. Those are the things that are very important that I want to teach you. But I expect that you should follow yesterday's class and today's class, because it has nothing to do with those topics. It is after we are done with today's class, going forward, you will then need those information, because that knowledge is about logic, performing logic. And you perform logic in your APIs. You're going to be building so many APIs. And inside each of these APIs, you'll be performing different logics. And that is why it's important you understand those topics. So, but it has nothing to do with the video of yesterday and today. So whether you've watched yesterday's video or not, you should be able to follow up the makeup class. But I will see if it's possible to shift it to Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't know yet, but tomorrow, let's see if tomorrow will work. If it doesn't, then Tuesday or Wednesday. So any other question? If there is no other question, please drop a thumbs up so that we can continue. Drop a thumbs up on the question and answer so I know it's time to continue. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right, so for today's class, like I said, I want to believe that you've all installed Node.js. Now, if you have installed Node.js, the only way to know is typing node-v, node space -v, and you should get the version of the npm you are currently using. Now, I'm currently using version 20. This is the version of the npm I'm using. So you should see the version you are using. Now, the first thing you need to do is to initialize npm for any backend project. And the reason is this: without the package.json file, that is not a backend project. So that is why the first thing to do is to initialize npm, because it is only when you initialize npm that you will get that package.json file. And without the package.json file, that is not a backend project. What makes it a backend project? It is when you have that npm package.json file. So npm init. Doing this alone will walk me through series of questions, and I know what the questions are. It will ask me what will be the project name, the project version, the author, the licensing, and so on and so forth. But I don't have to answer that here. So I can say yes to everything. All the questions I will be asked, I can say yes, or double it and then say yes like this. The two of them will do the same thing. Now, the reason why we are doing this is to generate the package.json file, because without the package.json file, this is no longer a backend project. So I will hit enter and it should create a package.json file. Now I have a package.json file. I can go in and edit anything I want. If I want to change the name, I can do that. If this is the second version, I can do that. If I want to add description, I can do that. Now, this is the most important part, or the first most important part, the main file. The name of the file here should be the first file you will create here. So for my own, it's called index.js, but you can change it to app.js, server.js, any of those ones. So some persons use app. Sometimes I use app, sometimes I use index, sometimes I use server, sometimes I use app. Just, it doesn't really matter. So, but you need to make sure that what you have here should be the same file you will create. The reason is this backend project is not complete until you deploy it to maybe a cloud storage online, AWS, DigitalOcean, any of those cloud storage. And there in the cloud storage, you will not be the one to tell the cloud server which file to run. It is this package.json that will tell the cloud server which file to run. And the name of the file that is here, that is the file it will run. So if you have a different name here, just know that your backend project will not run online. That is the reason why this is important. So I will create a file here and I'll call it index.js. Now I have index.js. Like I said, this is the normal JavaScript. You can do normal JavaScript in here, but the only difference is you will need Node to run this JavaScript. It will not run on its own. Node run index.js. Hit enter and it's showing me console log here. Now this will not show up on the browser because this has nothing to do with the browser. This is the backend, so it has nothing to do with the browser. That's why it will not show up on any browser. Rather, it will show up in the terminal here. But what I can do is I like separating my work, meaning I like having my code on VS Code here, but I will open up this file. This is the file I am working with. These are JavaScript 6, and that's the file I have here. I can open it up with the terminal, which is exactly what I do when I'm building a project. The reason is I want to have enough space in my VS Code. So if I open this, I won't have much space to write my code. So I like using external terminal to run anything I want. And this is where, for those of you who use Windows, you should install Git. But if you want to use any other terminal, is fine. But the first thing you need to understand is make sure that this terminal is opened on the folder you are working with. It has to be that folder you are working with. So this same folder that is open with VS Code should be the same folder you open the terminal on. And I hope you got that. So I'll do this and I can say node run index.js, and I still get the same thing. The reason why I'm getting this is because it is still the same folder I have my VS Code on. Now, I want to believe you understand to this point. If you understand to this point, please drop a thumbs up, especially the new students. Please drop a thumbs up in the question and answers if you understand to this point, setting up the development environment. Like I said, this might be the last time we need to be building upon it. We don't start backend project every day. No, we can't. We can't be starting backend project every day. Rather, we start it once and then we'll keep building on top of it. So thank you. Now the next thing we want to do is set up the server. Tell the server to listen for requests at a particular port, and then you start creating your APIs. Now, creating APIs is where you have the bulk of the work. So, but this is like the 3 things you need to know how to do. The first thing is set up your server. Tell your server to start running at a particular port, and then start creating your APIs. Sadiq, which part don't you understand? Please turn up your mic and tell us which part. Go ahead, Sadiq. We are waiting for you. Which part don't you understand? Hello, Sadiq. Can you hear me? Please unmute yourself and tell us which part don't you or you don't understand. Which part? Which part? Are you here? Okay, I'll be waiting for you. So like I said, you need to set up the server. Now, we can set up the server manually. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, the previous lesson you just said that we can create a not what with this thing, and I saw you with some links. Those lists that you listed, are they permanent or you just create them?
You mean this list?
Yes, sir.
No, these ones I'm just telling you the step by step how to set up the backend.
Okay.
So, but these are comments. These are not codes. These are comments. And if you see the color, they are in green. So these are comments. Comments are always in green. Yes. So I just want to tell you that when you set up your package.json file, the next thing is to set up a server. This is number 1. You set up a server. Then number 2, you tell it to start listening. And number 3, you start creating all your APIs.
Okay, I get it now.
All right.
I get it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, like I was saying, to set up a server, you can set it up manually and all of that, but there's no point going that route. There's no point going that route because that is not what you will be doing in real-time projects. You're just doing that to just understand it, but you'll not be doing it real time. So what you'll be doing real time is using Express or Fastify, but Express is the most common, so we use Express. I still use Express. Now, to use Express, we use Express for the server. That is for our server. We need Express. And how do we bring in Express? First, you need to install Express with npm install Express like this. So because we want to use Express, we must install Express. We cannot use Express if Express is not installed in this project. This is why we are installing Express. So npm install, you hit enter. But for my system, I use yarn add Express. So yarn add Express is going to do the same thing for me. it will install Express, and then I can start using Express. So I will do that now. Please give me a minute. Okay, so mine is done installing. Now I have Express. I can start using Express. The first thing to do is to create a variable for Express and bring in Express. So this is how we create a variable. And for the new student, this is what I want to teach you, how to create a variable. The first thing we initialize that we want to create a variable. This is the variable name and the assignment operator. So we are setting the variable to require what we just installed, which is what? Express. So what we did here, or what I'm doing here, is bringing in Express and storing it inside this variable. Now, some persons can go ahead and invoke it here immediately. But for the sake of those who are learning it for the first time, you create another variable for your app or your backend server. You can call it app or you call it server, however you want to define it. So now we set it to be this variable now. This variable, what is inside this variable is this Express. So we set it to be this Express and then invoke it like this. So the second step is to invoke it, but some persons invoke it immediately here, but we're doing it in another line here. Now the next thing you want to do, which is number two, is telling it to start listening for requests at a particular port, and that will be app.listen. Now, I can pick any port number. Like I said, you can pick from 5,000 and above. So maybe I like using 8,000. Now my server has been created and it is listening for requests. How do I know that? If I say node run index.js, I'll hit enter. Now notice that it is hanging, it is not crashing. So that means the server is running and is working perfectly. But I need to know when the server has started listening, because this way now I don't know that the server has, I just know that from experience I know that it's supposed to crash, but since it's not crashing, it means that the server is running. But I need it to tell me that the server is actually running. So what I'll do is add a callback function. For the new students, I like using arrow function. Arrow function is anytime you see bracket, the fat arrow, and curly brace. So three of them together is what we call arrow function. But you can use a normal function here if you want. You can still use a normal function here if you want, but I like using arrow functions a lot, and you will see that. So arrow function, bracket, fat arrow, and curly braces. So what will happen is whenever this server starts listening at port 8,000, then this callback function, which is an arrow function, will run. Now when the function runs, what I want is console log for me that server has started running like this. So with this, I am done setting up the server. Now, one thing here is that it will not tell me I need to restart the server. So anytime you add a change to your codes, you should restart the server. So you keep restarting the server on and on, but I will show you how we do it. We don't need to restart the server. So I will cancel with Control C to cancel, and do it again. Node run index.js. Now it says server started. Okay, I didn't complete it, but it's the same thing. Server started running, but you notice that it's also hanging, but it's telling me that the server has started running. So this is how you set up your server. Even if it is a big company that you are working for, this is how we set up a simple server with Node.js and Express. Now there are other frameworks like Fastify, but Express is like the most popular, and we use Express. And in 3 lines, you can set up the Express server. Now, if for any reason you do not remember how to do this, no problem. We have a documentation for Express. And just go to sorry, let me open that up, and I want to be sure that I'm actually recording this. Yeah. So go to your browser, type in npm js. Now npm js is going to take you to the official documentation for npm, that's Node Package Manager. Now inside here you have
Hello, Francis. Where is your tutor? Hello, can anybody hear me? Francis, I think you can speak. Where is your tutor?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm asking where is your tutor?
It's raining here. I think network is very, very bad.
I mean, I mean, you, I mean your tutor. Your tutor.
He's teaching already, but the network is bad. It's raining here. It's
I
raining
can't
here in
see him.
Abuja.
I can't see him
Can you,
here. Like, wait.
is that? Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, I think I'm seeing on the chat that network is bad. Network. I think network drop him off. Okay, now, so you guys just wait for him. I believe he will be back.
Yeah, yes, yes. I think network is also bad generally.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Okay,
I
he's
think
back.
he's
He's
back
back.
now. Yeah, he's
All
back.
right.
Back now. Yeah. Thank you, boss.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I've been saying all these things with. I apologize for that. Sorry. So, without wasting too much time, we have set up the server. Now we can test the server if it's actually listening for any request. Okay, thank you. So with this, we can test our server if it's listening to any request. Now, when you want to set up your backend the first time, that is the most difficult time. Like the first time you are setting up the server is like the first most difficult thing. You set up the server, you test your API, you make sure that the server is restarting itself, you set up your script. So many setups needs to be done before you start writing your codes gradually. So we are done with the first step, setting up the server. We need to test whether this server is actually working. We say app.get. We are saying if there is a get request. So app.get means if there is a get request on the app. So if there is a get request on the app at this particular endpoint, we can call it posts. So if there is a get request at this particular endpoint on the app, then we need a function to run. So you can use arrow function if you want, or a normal function. So I like using arrow functions, and you see a lot of arrow functions. So I have arrow function here. What do I want this function to do? I want you to take the request and then prepare a response to send. Now the response you will send, res.send. The response you will send can be anything, but just know that you are sending a response. So if I come back to my browser, now this app is running on port 8000. If I go to a different port, I will not get this app. And it has to be this exact endpoint. If I go to any other endpoint, I will not get this server. So these two things must be accurate for this server to respond to you. Now, and I will demo that. So the first thing is, because we are not hosted this server, we are running on local host. So we need to go with local host. Now this is port 3000. We're not going to get anything. If I go to a different port, like port 7000, we still not get anything. And I know why I'm teaching it this way, so that you will not have any need to be confused. So it must be 8000. Now at 8000, I have a different screen. Now this is telling me cannot get /. This means I am making a get request on this route, which is /, but it cannot get it. So I'm making a get request on this part, but I don't have this route. So if I want to, I can change my route and say let it be just / and save it, and knowing that you must restart your server for every time. You need to restart your server for every time. So if I refresh this now I'm getting a string. So that's why I was getting that error there. So as a backend developer, it's actually traditional that your test route should be this. The reason is because most front-end developers don't actually know what's going on in the backend. They will first off call this route to see whether they are communicating with your backend. So this is the route they know. Every front-end developer knows this route. So they will first use this to see if they are actually communicating with your backend. So what you need to do is here, first I need to specify that this is a JSON. And then here I will add an object and say the object should send a message. And the message should be welcome to my server. Or maybe any company server, welcome to Access Bank server. Like this. So this means that if the front-end developer makes a get request to this route, they will see a message that says welcome to Access Bank server. And this is custom, let's say it's tradition, it's a normal thing. to add a message for this route, because the front-end developer may not know what's going on your backend. This is the only route they know, and they want to use it to test whether they are actually communicating with your backend. So I will restart this server again, Control C and restart. Now, if I refresh this route, I have welcome to my backend server. So for now, the front-end developer knows that your server is running and they're actually communicating with your server. Do we have any question so far? Any question on what we have done so far? Cannot find home/run. Why? Number one, you have index.js app package log and 8000 run console.log server require express and says node.js version module not found, and I don't know why cannot find the home log. So this click on your package.js that you should have express. That's why you have node modules. Const express is equal to require express. Const app is equal to express invoke app.listen 8000 function. This is curly brace console.log this. And what are you running? Node run. Now remove the keyword run. Just do node index.js. So it means that it knows. Yes. Because of JSON, that's why the screen became black. Yes. Remove the keyword run and it will run again. So any other question? Now the screen is black because of formatting. They are just formatting for this message. And also this happens in Postman, which we are going to use too. All right, good. So now we have our backend set up and we have the server sending a welcome message to the front-end developer. Now we can try another one, app.get. If there's another get request on this endpoint, post. Now we want this arrow function to run. What would the arrow function do? Accept the request and send a response. And the response you will send should be in form of JSON, and you can put anything here. What do I want to add in here now? I can add an object that says BB should be HHH. Sorry, pardon, LL should be this. So I'm sending an object with these keys for any time the user comes to post. But there's something I want you to understand with these two APIs. When I'm using full words here, or will I say full letters, when I'm using this all, it all has to be in full. So if the first time you are accepting the request and the response, you are using complete letters, the second time, the third time, any other time you are referring to the request and the response, they all have to be in full. But if the first time you are accepting the request and the response, you are abbreviating in rec and res, then any other time you are referring to the response and the request, they have to be abbreviated. So you can't do this res and you can't do this response. You can't do this. Initially, I'm abbreviating here, and here initially they are all in full. So there's no better way. If you want to abbreviate, it's fine. If purely professional, I abbreviate. Sometimes I keep them in full. But you need to know that what you call in this function matters in any time you are referring to the request and the response. It's very, very important. Some persons overlook it. It's very, very important. So what I'll do is this. Then I will come back here. This should be / I think post. Hit enter. Cannot get post. I need to restart my server again. Control C, restart the server and refresh. Now I have post. So we have our server working and we have our test APIs working. Now, since that the server is working, we can continue the configuration for our server to make sure that everything is complete. The first thing we need to do is handle this port. Right now, we are hard coding the port 8000. If we build this project and we deploy this to a server, a hacker that knows that our port number is 8000 can easily communicate with our server and either hack our server or cause it to crash. So this port number is very, very important and should be hidden. That's one. So how do we do that? We create a variable here, const port. It can be capital letters, it can be small letters, but I like using capital letters. It's equal to 8000. Instead of hard coding here, I will just say run on port like this and save it. So I can remove this thing here when I want. I'm not hard coding it into the app.listen function. I can remove it later. So what I'll do is restart the server with Control C and restart again. Make sure that my server is running. My server is still running. That's the first step. Now, the second thing we want to do is, I don't want to be restarting this server every time. So we can use another dependency that will be restarting the server for us. And that dependency is called nodemon. So nodemon will help us restart the server for every time we make a change or any change at all. Nodemon. So what I'll do is I will install nodemon with yarn add nodemon. But this nodemon, there are some technicalities associated to it. You can install it like this if you want, but I don't usually install like this. I install as a dev dependency. So that brings us to what is a dev dependency. So there are different types of dependencies when you are working on the backend. There are global dependencies. There are the normal dependencies. There is a dev dependency. Now, dev dependencies is short for development dependencies. So any dependency that you will use only for when you are developing the project. If you deploy the project, that dependency doesn't work again, that type of dependency is known as a dev or a development dependency. Any dependency you need or you use in the project only when you are developing, that dependency is known as a dev dependency. Now, for example, this nodemon, the only time I need nodemon is so that it will be restarting this server for me every time I make a change. If I deploy this server to AWS, this server will run 247. It has to be 247. For those of us that use Access Bank app, you know that Access Bank app runs 247. There's no stopping, there's no restarting, because the moment you stop and restart, users will start complaining. So the server runs 247. So at this point, nodemon will not do anything for me there in the server, because I don't need it to be restarting my server at when it's on AWS. So that is why this nodemon is a dev dependency. It is only going to be restarting this server for me while I am developing. That's a dev dependency. But here we have Express. Express is a normal dependency for this project, because without Express, this server will not run, because the whole server depends on Express. I don't know if you understand the difference between the two of them, but I want to believe you do. So for example, we have, let me install this. Now for you, you can install this with npm install, like npm install -d nodemon. So you are installing nodemon, but as a dev dependency. That is what this -d means here. You are installing nodemon, but as a development dependency. And a development dependency is a dependency that is needed only when you are developing. Is this a fresh question or is it an old question, Francis? Let me see. I'm actually sharing my screen and I want to see that I'm actually recording this. So Francis, I want to know if you still can't see my screen. I'll drop a question in the question and answers topic. So I'm trying to install it. Sorry, this is not npm, it's npm. But you get the point. npm install -d nodemon like this. So this we're installing this as a dev dependencies. But if it is not a dev dependencies, you will remove this -d and keep it like this. Then this means it will be a normal dependency. I want to believe you get that point. So let me install nodemon, but as a dev dependency. I will do yarn add -d nodemon. And I am using nodemon, sorry, the yarn, I didn't spell it well. Yarn add -d nodemon. Okay. All right. So now I have nodemon installed. If you look here, I have my normal dependencies where you have express under it, and I have dev dependencies where you have nodemon under it. So these are the normal dependencies that this project depend on to run. Without them, this project will not run. And then these are dev dependencies that are only needed while you are developing. Sorry, let me zoom in one bit. So Emmanuel, let me know if it's okay. So these are the two types of dependencies. Now the third one, Kenneth, I am sorry about that. The third one is the global dependency. A global dependency is a dependency that I install on my system. That is my computer as a whole. And I will be using it every time I want to create a backend project. For example, Node. We had to install Node in our system. So any backend project you want to create, you will still use Node to run it. You will still use Node to run it because Node now is a global dependency. For example, I'm using Node to run this. If I cancel this and I decide to use nodemon because I have installed nodemon, nodemon run index.js, hit enter, and I'll try. Now sometimes the two of them used to misbehave, so you add run. Sometimes you need to add run, sometimes you don't add run. Okay. I've not saved this. Save this. Try one more time. Okay, try one more time. All right. Now, since I'm not getting it here, what I will do is here in this my script. That is the second step. You need to create two scripts to assist you here. And I want to believe that you are actually following me because this is very, 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 very important. It's very, very important. I've tried to explain the dev dependency, the normal dependency, and the global dependencies. Now, we have installed a dev dependency, which is nodemon, and we have installed a normal dependency, which is express. We've also installed a global dependency, which is node. Now, although node is not here because it's not installed for this project, it's installed in our computer. That is why we can use node to run it. But here I can create two scripts. The first one, I will call it, the name of the script will be start, and it will do something. The second one, I will call it dev. The name of the script will be dev, and it will also do something. So inside this script object, I am creating two different scripts. The first script is a start script. The second script is a dev script. So what are they going to do for me? Anytime I call this start script, I want Node to run index.js. That's what the start script will do. Anytime I call start script, I am simply saying node run index.js. But anytime I call the dev script, I want nodemon to run index.js. So this is the two scripts. Now this script is used for development. That is why it's called dev. Now this script is used on the normal server on your cloud. When you deploy it to the cloud, this is the script that will run start, and it must be called start, because the time you deploy this project to AWS will just tell the project to start. Now if you don't have a start script, this project will not start. So that is why this is very, very important. But this one, you can call it whatever you want. This is only for development. You can call it whatever you want. And anytime you call it, nodemon will be the one running index.js. But if you call start, node will be the one running, sorry, this is not complete, index.js, like that. So I want to believe you are following to this point. How do we use this script? I will keep it short as dev, and here I will clear this and say npm run dev. Dev is the name of the script that we run with nodemon, and if you look at it here, it had to call nodemon run index.js. I will cancel again and then call npm run start. Start is the script that we run with Node, and here you have Node running index.js. Now these two scripts, one of them is the most important one, and that is the start script. You must create a start script, and you must set it that Node will be the one to run your index.js. Any cloud storage you choose to deploy to, whether AWS, whether DigitalOcean, all of them we call the start script. And if you don't have a start script, your server will not start. But this one, like I said, you can call this one whatever you want. Let me use 3dv so that I can remember what I typed in. So here I will cancel this and then run npm run dvv, like that. And now it's also calling nodemon. So do you understand how to set up these two scripts? If you understand, okay, no, sorry, let me rephrase it. If you don't understand how to set up these two scripts, drop a thumbs up. If you don't understand how to set up these two scripts, you don't understand, then that is a problem. Okay. Kenneth, you don't understand. Are you serious? Okay, I'll try doing it again from the beginning. So, but I want to believe that you understand the difference between a dev dependency and a normal dependency and a global dependencies. If you understand the difference between global, normal, and a dev dependency, please drop a thumbs up. If you understand the difference between these three, drop a thumbs up. If you understand the difference between the three, the global, the normal, and the dev dependency, drop a thumbs up. Okay, sorry, Kenneth. Okay, so you understand. But for those who don't understand, let me explain again. A global dependency is a dependency that you install in your system. For example, we had to install Node in our system. And any project we are going to create today, tomorrow, in the future, all those projects will be using Node because we install Node in our system. So Node for us is a global dependency. It will be used by any project we create. That's now a normal dependency is a dependency we install for this particular project. It is only going to run on this project, whether it is local or whether you deploy it. It is only for this project. If you are creating a new project, you have to install the dependencies again. If you are creating another new project, you have to install the dependencies again. Unlike Node, we're not going to install Node again, except you want to update it, but you're not going to be installing again. You've already installed it. It's a global dependency. But Express, if you want to set up a new project, you will still set up Express again. You want to set up another backend project, you will install Express again. So Express here is a normal dependency. But there is something called a dev dependency, a development dependency, a dependency that is needed only when you are developing. If you are done developing and you are ready to deploy, that dependency is no longer relevant. For example, nodemon. Now, nodemon is a dev dependency. What does it do? Since we are going to be writing our code and saving, and we need the server to restart, nodemon will be the one restarting it for us. Every time we change the server and restart it, nodemon will restart. So I will show you that. How do you install nodemon? The first thing you need to do, is type in npm install, I is short for install, -d nodemon. Now the reason why we are installing nodemon as a dev dependency is that nodemon will be restarting the server. We don't want nodemon to restart our server when it is deployed to AWS. Imagine somebody is trying to make a transaction and the server restarts. The person's money is gone or the project will not go through. So you don't want that. nodemon is only used when you are developing and you are restarting your server. That is why we are installing it with this capital D to signify that this is a dev dependency. Now, without this D, it becomes a normal dependency. So that's how you install it. And when you are done installing it, the next thing is to set up your script. This is the part for script. Here we have a first script, a test script. Is not doing anything. It's error. Some persons delete it, but I don't. I keep it. But some persons will go ahead and delete this. It's your choice. So what I do is I put comma and add 2 more scripts. Now you can choose to name the second one anything, but the first one must be called start. You can call the second script anything, but this one must be called start, because when you deploy this project, AWS will call start, DigitalOcean will call start. If there is no start script, your server will not start. So the second one is for your development. You can choose to call it development if you want. You call it dev for short, however you want it. It's your choice. So you can call it development or you can call it dev. So I usually call mine dev for short. So I have 2 start scripts. Now, what happens to the dev dependencies when you're done? Now, if you want, you can choose to delete them if you want. But because they are installed under dev dependencies, they will not run. So whether you deploy them together with the project, so long as they are under here, they will not run, because this is dev dependency. It is not production. So when you deploy to the server, it becomes production. It will not run anything dev. It will only run the normal ones and production. So this dev will only run while you are developing. So if you want, you can delete them before you deploy, or you leave them. Once you leave them and deploy together, they will not run online. But the ones that are here, if you install it as a normal dependency and it is here, then it will run. So That's the difference. So the next thing is my script. I say the start script is telling Node will be the one running index.js. That's what the start script will do. Node will be the one running index.js. Now for the dev script, nodemon will be the one running index.js. Now I think I've simplified this enough. So the start script, Node will be the one running index.js. For the dev script, nodemon will be the one running index.js. To demo that, I have saved this. I have two scripts. So I can come here and now if you look at this, you see that this is starting and restarting, starting and restarting. This is the work of nodemon. It will restart the server. So it says restarting due to changes, and then starting node, restarting due to changes, restarting due to changes. That is the work of what? Nodemon. But I can cancel this and run only npm run start. If I say start, node will be the one running it. If I say dev, nodemon will be the one running it. So I want to believe that at this point you understand. If you don't understand, then we'll hand you over to Mesoma. Mesoma will take up from there and she'll conduct special deliverance for you. So that is done. We can continue before we spend the whole month setting up server. So with this, we'll set up our script, which is very, very important. Like I said, you can decide to skip this one and not do it, but you must do this one because without this, you can't deploy to any server. You must do that one. So that said, now we have our server running and I want to use nodemon to run this. npm run dev. Hit enter and nodemon is running, server started. If I come back to my and refresh, you see I still have this. If I make any changes here, like server started running, my server restarts, and if I refresh, I still get this. And I can choose to send back you know what, let me do something like this. I'm done. Don't need. So do you have any questions so far before we continue? For setting up nodemon, setting up the script, any question before the last setup and we're done? Any question on this setup? Any question? We may not be doing this setup every day because it takes time. So you do setup once and you move on to other things. And I want to be sure that you understand how to set up before we move on to other things. Ask your questions now. Let me confirm that I'm actually recording this. No question. No question. So if there's no question, please drop a thumbs up so we can continue. If there is no question, please drop a thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're really doing your job very well. Well done. Keep it up. So now the next thing is we have nodemon. The next thing is, like I said, if this project is going to be hacked, it depends on you, the backend developer, a lot. Majority of the times, it depends on you. So it means that there are some data, there are some information that you don't want people to see. You don't want people to see it. It is only between you and the cloud that you will deploy to. So there are some data that you want only yourself and the cloud to see. When I mean cloud, I don't mean the sky. I mean the cloud storage where you deploy your project. So some informations you want only yourself to see it or the cloud to see it. Number one is your database. You don't want anybody to have login to your database. You don't want anybody to know how to log into your database at all. That's one. Number two is your port number. You don't want anybody to know your port number. Although we are developing, it can be 8,000, but when it comes to real-time project, it is left for you to choose numbers. So that is between you and the cloud. Nobody should know your database login details and the type of database you're using any information that relates with the user, because some users are going to be saving, if it's like, for example, if it's a bank, some users are going to be saving their NIN, their BVN on your database, and you don't want people to have access to your database. And why are you having this error? Nodemon is not recognized as an internal or external because you try to do npm run dev and you have dev. Do you have nodemon installed? I don't think you have nodemon installed. That should be the reason why you're getting this. Check if you have nodemon installed in your package.json. You should see nodemon installed and you should see it under dev dependencies. Confirm that you have this installed. So like I was saying, there are informations you don't want people to have access to. So because of that, we have what we call process environment. You can call it process environment, you can call it the variable environment, you can call it data environment, anything. Just put, is simply put, where you store secret informations. Where you store secret informations. So, for example, your database login details, your port number, your database type of database, your access token, your refresh token, your email address, so many things you are using. So, those informations. Now, how do we do that? And how do we save that? We use a different dependency to handle that. And that is called .env. Now this dot, the env means for environment, the dot here just a simple dot. .env. .env is a file that will store all those variables that you don't want anybody to see. That file doesn't go anywhere. It stops in your system. Even if you are pushing to GitHub, if you don't push it to GitHub. If you are deploying, you first deploy before you copy and paste those information on the cloud. So the information is between your computer and the cloud. So that is what .env file does for you. Yes, if you want to uninstall nodemon, is your choice. If you want to, you are free and you're allowed to do that. But if you installed it as a dev dependency and you are seeing it that it is under dev dependency, then you have nothing to worry about. The server will never run dev dependencies. It will not run dev dependencies because it knows that dev dependencies are just for development. So it will not run anything that is inside here. So, but you can choose to uninstall it if you want. All you need to do is npm uninstall -d nodemon and it will be gone. But what, like I said, you can choose to leave it if you are very certain that it is under dev dependency here. So where was I? I was trying to explain .env. You need to install a new dependency called .env. .env helps you manage all your secret files, secret information you don't want anybody to see. That's what .env does. So far we've used 3 dependencies: Express, nodemon, and .env, and I want to believe you know what each one is doing. It's very important to know what each one is doing. How do we use .env? I will come here, like for you, npm install .env. Now this one is normal dependency. It is not only for when you develop. It can also be for when you deploy. So it's compulsory. It can be for development. It can be for production. Both of them. So it is not a dev dependency. And .env file handles all your secret information. So for you, you'll be doing npm install .env. But for me, I'll be doing yarn add .env. Now you can use yarn if you want, but you have to install yarn. You install it manually if you want to. You can use npm to also install it. Npm install -g. That's for that. Well, I'll explain that later. Yarn add .env. I'll hit enter, and now I have .env. If I go to my package.json file, you see that I have .env here, and I also have express. So these two are normal dependencies, and I want to believe you know what each of these dependency is doing, because you might be asked in an interview or maybe a simple technical question: what is this one used for? What is that used for? When you're trying to set up your server, what do you use? If you're trying to handle environmental variables, what do you use? If you want to restart your server, what do you use? So just be certain that you know what each dependency is doing. So I have .env installed. What I can do is bring it in here the same way I brought in express. const.env is equal to require.env. The same way we brought in express, we can do the same thing for .env. And you have an error. It says complete. Where's the error message? I'm not seeing the error message. You go up. Go up so that I can see the error message. Were you trying to install node? Okay, npm install -d nodemon, and you have error enet, so you have a network error. Package.json must be actual JSON, not JavaScript. Did you create package.json yourself? Be sure to check that. Okay, but I want to know why. This here is telling me is a network error, and you did npm install -d nodemon. Why? In your terminal, save your package.json. Make sure that it's saved after you write this script. Make sure it's saved and try again. I want to understand why you have this error. So try again. Make sure your package.json is saved, and then open up the terminal again. Try npm install -d nodemon. So I brought in my .env like this, and some persons go ahead and configure here .config here. So they configure it here automatically. But what I do most times, for the sake of teaching, I'll bring it down and say .env.config. So you know that it is the same thing. You are bringing in .env and you're configuring .env. What this two-line means is it is telling your server to know that you will be creating a separate file where you will store secret information. So anywhere you reference a secret information, it should go to that secret file to find that information there. Anywhere you reference a secret information, it should go to that file. It will find that secret information there. And what is that file? It is called, you create a file as in full stop, .env. So the name you create and the name you install, they sound the same, but they are not spelled the same. So you install .env, but you create .env like this. You hit enter. So what I can do, I'll say my port is equal to 8000 and save. So this is a secret file and it's called .env, and I have created a port here in this secret file. So here I have configured my .env, letting my server know that I will be creating a secret file. So if I reference any secret information, it should go there and find that secret information. So how do I reference? Instead of putting my port to be 8000, I'll say my port is coming from that secret file process.env, and the name of the variable is called port. Now this is process.env. Process.env refers to this file, the process environment, the env. But the name port is the name of the variable that I created here, port. So this name must match. So what I'm saying here is the value of this port is coming from the process environment file, and inside it you have a variable called port. So whatever assigned to it should be the value of this port. So if I save this and refresh, my server is still running. And sometimes, okay, what's her name? Deborah, I want to see that your server is running and is actually working. So let me know if you've saved your package.json file and try install it again. I don't know why you have this error. You should, I don't know why. Assignment is, this looks like a network error. This is an npm error. npm install nodemon, and did you spell well? Yes, you did. Try again, save your package.json file, try again. So like I said, we are trying to reference port, and this port is the variable we created here. You can come here and create your database, database password, database underscore password is equal to whatever is your database password, like that. You can set all your secret information here, and then when you come here, you can reference them with saying this has to be .database underscore password, password, like this. So what you are saying is you are referencing the process environment file, and the name of the variable on that file is called database password. The name must match. The name must match. The name must match. The name must match. Thank you. So, but the name I want to use here is this port because I'm talking about the port. So I can save this here. I have my port, and if I refresh, my server is still restarting. But sometimes, like I said, sometimes you may deploy this server and you will forget to upload this thing. This has happened to one particular bank, but I will not mention the name of the bank. They made an update, but forgot to update their process environment file in the backend, and people could not access it. So what you do is you then set or 5,000. So what I'm saying here is that the value of my port or the port number is coming from the process environment. But if there is no number in the process environment, go ahead and use 5,000. I want to be sure that that's clear. Now, the port number is coming from the process environment, and the value there is the port. But if there is no number there, if you come here and there is no port here, then go ahead and use 5,000. So this double pipe represents or. That is JavaScript pattern of saying or. So how do I check where my server is running? I don't know who owns the port 5,000. We use 5,000 for development purposes. So I use 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 80, just like that. So, but yes, my port number here is 8,000 in this environment. But here I am saying, in case I deploy this project and I forget to upload information that I have in this file, because these files will not be uploaded, I have to enter them manually. It is between me and the cloud. So let's say I've deployed my project and I didn't have the time to actually hard code my port number. So instead of the server to crash because there is no port number, let it fall back to this default 5,000. So that is why I'm using 5,000 here. So this is use this or you use this. So how do I catch the port, the exact port is using? I will use template strings here. I've changed this to backtick. Server running on port. Sorry, here. Are you serious? You still have this issue? npm i-d nodemon. I don't know why you have this error. This is package.json, and there's no error here because this is this here. Yes, that's the noted. So I don't know why you are having this error. Fail to pass JSON data. This is where the error is coming from the package.json file, and you can't redo this again. Run npm install first. Npm I, hit enter. Just run npm I, hit enter. If it says everything is up to date, then I'll know where the error is coming from. Just run npm I, hit enter. npm I, and make sure that your package.json is saved. How many package.json file do you have? Okay, this is package lock. Okay. Yeah, just run npm I, hit enter. Then let me see if you still get the same error. Okay. Repeat the process like he said and see whether it will work. So here, I want to see which port my server is running on. Will it run on this one, or will it run on this one? So whatever number is assigned here, I am console logging it here. That's all I'm doing. I'm trying to see what will be the value of this port. So will it be this one, or will it be this? This is 8,000 here. This is 8,000, and this is 5,000. If I save it, it says this is running on port 8,000. Let's say I remove this and I cancel this and restart the server again. Now it is running on port 5,000. So this is the reason why you have to do this. Sometimes there may not be a port number when you deploy, but because you have a fallback, it will fall back to this. But if there is a port number, then it will use that secret port number. That is just the difference. So with this, we have actually configured our backend properly, and it cannot be hacked unless we release our hand and leak the information, which might land us 14 years imprisonment. Command Z. So I'll put back my 8,000 and cancel this server, restart the server again, and now it is running on port 8,000. So any question? Hey, yeah, sorry about this. I don't know what is wrong. Say npm install. Yeah, everything is up to date. Good. So it means that nothing is wrong with your package.json file. It means from the way we are writing this, this is opened up on assignment. Are you using the assignment folder? Be sure that the folder you're actually working with is the same folder. You know what? Can you share your screen? No, don't worry. I would have to stop sharing mine. Be sure that the folder name you are working with is exactly where you have this. I think that is where you are. But wait, let me see. You run npm install on assignment, and it says after this. So you're in the right folder. npm install -d nodemon. Sorry, maybe it has something to do with your operating system. You might need to use yarn, but I don't know why. Why should you be having this error? you shouldn't be having this error. Where is it coming from? The more I look, as I see index.js, one career exercise. Now, the name of this file, the name of the well, does it matter? No, it doesn't. I think, well, first things first. Okay, try removing this script. Oh, we'll figure that out. But do as she said, try removing the start script and see if you have same error. So, but with this done, do you have any question on what we have done so far? Now we have configured our server. Even if somebody knows that our server, we had coded 5,000, they would not know which port the server is running on. Now, they would not see our database login details. They will not see any of those information. Now, the final thing is that this file should never be uploaded to GitHub. It should not be uploaded to GitHub or any other place. It has to remain on your system. To ensure that it will never be uploaded to GitHub, here we add a git ignore file. Now, .git ignore will carry all the names of the files that should not go to GitHub. Now, I know that I've not taught you how to push to GitHub using Git, and we'll do that. That's because I want to cover up these basics first before I come back to Git. So, but what .git ignore will do, it will carry the names of all the files that should not be uploaded to GitHub. The first one is node modules. The second one is .env, like this. So these two files should never be sent to GitHub. And that's all. So any question so far? And I think, okay. Any question, please ask your question. And Deborah, I'm sorry you're having that error. I wish, you know what? Go ahead and share your screen, Deborah. If you can, go ahead and share your screen. Let me stop. No, just go ahead and share your screen. Let me see. Yes, git ignore will be sent to GitHub. You will need to push it to GitHub. Yes. But what git ignore does, it will tell Git. That is when we start using. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. So Git will tell, this file will tell git ignore the files that are not supposed to follow Git to GitHub. But I will explain Git later in a separate class. But this is just how to configure your backend. Any question? Please ask your question. Do you know how to set up the script? Do you know what is nodemon? What is .env? And how to set up your start script, and why you should set up your start script, and what is a dev dependency, a normal dependency, and what is a .env file. If you understand all of this, then kudos to you. We're good to go. Okay. Node modules sometimes can be very large. Now, if you work on a backend project, for example, say for Access Bank, before you are done with that project, your node modules alone could be as big as 50 gig. So which person's server will you be deploying 50 gig worth of useless data? Because node modules is actually useless. It's not required to run on GitHub. It's not needed on the server. The server will run node modules on their own. So why are you uploading a data worth of 50 gig or 30 gig or 20 gig or 10 gig to GitHub? That is why node modules is not to be uploaded or pushed to GitHub, because it is usually a large file, and GitHub will not allow you to upload that kind of large files. That is why node modules should not be uploaded to GitHub. Can you have multiple git ignore in multiple directory? I want to understand what you mean by multiple directory, because the only place you can have git ignore is in the parent directory, which is here. The parent directory is this JS. I'm looking for the name, we call it the right word, the root directory. Yeah. So the root directory here is this this JS6. So I don't know if you want to create this in another file, it will not be taken note of. So your git ignore is only created in your root directory. It is the only git ignore that will be taken note of, the one in the root directory. Okay, I apologize for the network. Sorry about that. And like I said, I will make sure to see if we can have this video sent to you raw without any editing or anything. But I will try to ask first. I will ask first. So, any other questions so far on how to set up your server? In setting up the server, for now, git ignore is not really a challenge to you, because except for the node modules, git ignore is not really a challenge to you, because you don't have any secret information that people will hack. So that is the main reason. But if you're uploading to GitHub with Git, when we get to Git, now any repository you want to push to Git, that repository must have git ignore. Any repository you want to push to Git, that particular repository must have git ignore. So if you have so many repositories and you want to push all of them differently to GitHub, they must all have git ignore. So Abang, you're not adding comma at the end of the test script. Add comma. Yeah, add comma at the end of test script. Any more questions before we proceed? That is if we're proceeding. But I think we've done a lot today. And I'll be happy and I'll be glad if you understood everything I just did. Because if I have to set up the server again and again, it means we will not move forward. And we have a lot to cover. When it comes to backend, there are two most important things to do that will qualify you as a backend developer. The first one is CRUD. You should be able to do CRUD. The second one is authentication. Now, these are the two most important things to cover if you must be a backend developer. CRUD simply means see, create to the database, read from the database, update on the database, and delete from the database. Authentication simply means the login, registration, logout, and then update profile, and so on and so forth. So that is authentication. Now, these are the two core functionalities that you must know how to build to become a backend developer. If you can't do this, then you don't know how to do anything in backend. But if you can do this too, any other thing you learn again is additional. Of course, you will learn additional things, but any other thing is additional. So why am I saying this? If I have to be setting up this server every time we want to start a class, we may not be able to cover these two things. So I would really, really appreciate if you understood everything I'm doing now. But if you don't understand, please ask your question now. So regarding that env, we are taught to push to GitHub. How do we store those vital information to avoid losses? And like I said, this information doesn't leave your computer. But what I do most times is I'll find Google Drive somewhere. I will name it something totally different. So even if you see the file, you will not know which application it is meant for. So you can be seeing the file on my Google Drive, but you will not know that it is meant for example, Google Access Bank backend, or maybe what is it called? Piggyvest backend, any of those backend, you will not know. So that's what I do most times. I save it on a Google Drive or save it somewhere in the cloud, but I name it something that looks absolutely different. But when I see it, I know what it's meant for. But you who's an outsider, if you see it, you will not know what it's meant for. That's how I do it. But like I said, it shouldn't be stored where people will see it. So it should be where only you will see it. And if you see it, you recognize what it is, like that. And also, if you're going to be working with other developers, sometimes you can choose to share the information with them. Sometimes you can, or maybe they need to generate their own while they are developing. But if it has been pushed to production, it means you must share that file with other developers. And make sure that what I do is I don't send it directly to the developer. No, I will send it to the project manager or the HR. They will be the ones to use their hand and send it to the developer, so that if there is any leak, it will not be coming from my end. It will actually be from the HR or the project manager. But that file is very, very important. Like I said, if the backend is to be hacked, majority of the responsibility is on you, the backend developer. So any other question? All right, no questions. So for here we have a brush up on the chain of flow on this. This is the server, and I'll explain to you. You already have the server here. So if you're looking at your system, Aloysius, so what this means is we are creating a variable called express, and we are setting it to require the express that will install. And you know you've installed it because of these dotted lines you see under it. So it means it's actually installed. So you are picking the whole express and you are storing it inside this variable called express. Then what you are now doing is you are creating a variable or a name for your backend. Now this app here is the name for your backend. Now you can choose to call it app, you can choose to call it server, but this is the name of your backend. And you are telling your backend to run on the express function. Now this is a function because you are invoking it with this parenthesis. This is how we invoke a function. So our server or your server is running on the express function. Now you are telling your backend to listen. Now this is the name of your backend. Whatever you choose to call it, you are calling yours app. This is the name of your backend. You are telling your backend to listen for requests that will come on port 8000. So now your server will be listening to only port 8000. Any request that is coming but not coming through this port will not be responded to. So whenever your server starts listening to port 8000, you are setting an arrow function that will run. So this is an arrow function that will run whenever this server is listening on port 8000. And what this arrow function will do is to console log for you the server started running. So I think this is a recap, and this is like a brush up. But if you still don't understand this, like I said, you can check up documentation on how to set up Express server is everywhere. So any other question before we call it a day? Now, to end this, I can go ahead and do app dot what do I want to use? And if I don't go forward to teach, I may not give this week assignment. So this is my question now. Should I give you this to study, and in our next class you are coming back, you understood this thing, and there will be no assignment for this week? So your assignment will be to study this. Or should I teach one more thing and then go ahead and give my assignment? Okay. So in order for you to understand this is what I will do. This is what I will do. Now, you need to do it over and over and over and over again. So this is what I'll do. You are going to create 3 GET requests. Three GET requests. Now, the first request should send back a string. The second request should send back an object. The third request should send back an array. That's all. So in order for you to understand this thing very well, but make sure that your backend, you are setting up Express, you are setting up your .env, and you are also setting up nodemon. So you are creating GET requests. Choose whatever the endpoint you want to use, but make sure the first one is sending back a string, the second one is sending back an object, the third one is sending back an array. So it's your choice. So I think that's a good assignment to help you practice it very well. That should help you practice it and study it this week. And like I say, Deborah, don't worry. If you do the assignment, you understand. You practice it well. Yes, I think this should be the backend we'll be using, but this will be the backend we'll be using. I don't think we'll be. Now, that depends on if everybody will do the assignment and nobody will actually copy and paste. So if everybody will do the assignment, then this will be the backend we will use. Yes, this is applicable to the new students. And like I said, what we have done before has nothing to do with what we are doing here. But there will be a recap for the new students tomorrow. And I've asked you to pick a time, pick between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. tomorrow. So that is a different class, like a recap of what we have done so far. It is not backend. This is introduction to backend. Now, it is our next class. That is where we'll be using what we've done in our previous classes. So this is applicable to new students too. Okay, I will post the assignment on Google Classroom. Yes, I will. That one I will. Copy and paste. Now, I told you for the last assignment, go to JSON placeholder, use any of the 3 endpoints. Some persons had to go and use the same users that I used, and they copied the same codes that I did. And the only thing is they forgot that when you are trying to append to the div, you need to first select that div. So those set of persons forgot to select the div first. They just copied the function and added it there, but forgot to add the div because you need to select the div. So that's how I know it's a copy and paste. If you actually run that code, it will not run because it will tell you that div. It doesn't know what the div is. So you need to first select the div. And that's how I know that it was a copy and paste. So Yeah, oppose yourself. Exactly, it was a copy and paste. So that's how I know it was a copy and paste. They copied my code because there have to be users. I said use a different endpoint and run it, but you didn't use a different endpoint. You used the same users, and on top of it, you forgot to select. Yes, I will send that report to the team and see whether I can. Like I said, the main challenge is that the videos are going to be very large, 500 MB, 600 MB. Now, I don't know if I can send you all of that file without compressing it and all of that. So, but I will need to check out with the team and see if they will approve. I should go ahead and send you the videos immediately. And if that's possible, we can do that. So for the assignment, here I have a GET request and I've set up my server and everything. So the assignment is set up your server to use Express. Let me come back here. To use Express, make sure you're also using .env and you're also installing nodemon, like where is it? Nodemon. So make sure your server is using these 3 dependencies: Express, nodemon, and so set up your server very well the way I have set up mine. Don't do copy and paste actually. So do something that will make me know that it's not copy and paste, and then make 3 requests. Make 3 GET requests. I need to put the 3 here. Yeah, 3 GET requests. The first one should send back a string, any string you want. The second one should send back an object, and the third one should send back an array. Now, for the new student, I know why you're asking if this is applicable to new student. By tomorrow's class, I will tell you what a string is, what an object is, and what an array is tomorrow. So, which is why you need to attend tomorrow's class. So this is a recap on the assignment. And package 1, I'm trying to see what you mean by package 1. Sorry, this don't bother about it. I think you are trying to type. Okay, you have an error here. Remove this comma. Remove this comma here, and that will disappear. So you have an error here. It's okay. Okay. Yes, I will upload for those who have. Actually, I'm not telling you the scores, but for those who have submitted the assignment, I will upload their names to know those who have actually submitted the assignments. So I'm going today, tomorrow. I'll drop names of those who have submitted their assignment. And some names are actually not, how do I put it? Your name on Google Classroom is different from your name on Telegram. Please, it has to be the same name so I know who is who. Your name on Google Classroom should match your name on Telegram. So don't bother about the scores. Just make sure you're doing the assignment and you're submitting the assignment. So that's all. In the absence of any question, if you still have a question, please drop your question. But if there is no other question, okay, do I need to push this to GitHub? Will you not do copy and paste? Do I need to push this to GitHub? Will you not do copy and paste? Yes, Aliyu, I have to ask. I have to ask. For now, no. So I don't need to push this to GitHub. Yeah, I don't need to actually push this to GitHub because you have the documentations on npm.js. So with npm.js, you should get a documentation of everything here. Exactly. So I will not push this to GitHub. So you have documentation, you have Google, you have so many things. Get it and use it. I will not push this to GitHub. So in the absence of any question, please drop a thumbs up so that we can end today's class. In the absence of any question, Drop a thumbs up. Thank you. And I hope you've actually dropped, yeah, you've dropped class attendance. So thank you. See you again next week or this week Saturday. But for the new students, tomorrow we'll meet, or maybe like somebody was saying, we can shift it. I'll see if it's possible to shift it. So, but see you again tomorrow. Thank you for coming to today's class. Yes, you're welcome.